Welcome to That's My Opinion Pod. I'm your host, Vero Iglesias. Another big week. We had the Beverly Hills and Miami finales. We had the premiere of Summer House. And we had the Southern Hospitality reunion for those who watched. So good. So I will be having a guest on, but she only watches Miami, Beverly Hills, and Vanderpump, which means that I will be covering alone Summer House, Southern Hospitality, Below Deck, and Potomac. So it's going to be a long episode. If you only watch a few of those shows or certain shows, or you only really care about the opinions on Vanderpump, for example, if you look on the Spotify info, you will see timestamps. And if you actually click the time, it will just take you to that part of the episode. So just a fair warning, because I know I'll be covering a lot today. Also, before I get into the episode, I do want to warn you guys about next week's episode. So, I will be traveling this week. I have one of my best friend's weddings in Panama, and I'll be traveling literally all day Thursday, most of Friday, then Saturday's the wedding, and then Sunday I'll be traveling most of the day as well. So, I really won't have any time to record and edit an episode to get it out to you guys by Monday, which is what I always aim for. I was originally planning on just not doing a podcast that week because I'm just if I can't be consistent, I would just rather take a moment and a weekend off. But I can't do that to you guys with the fucking Beverly Hills and Miami reunions this week. I can't even do that to myself. I do this podcast because I love sharing my opinions. So I need it for myself as well. So I will be recording that Monday morning and I'll edit it and I'll try to get it out by Monday afternoon, Monday evening. But for my UK listeners and people on the other side of the pond, because I'll be in the States when I do that, I'm talking to you, Ange. You probably won't get it until Tuesday. Maybe Monday night, but definitely by Tuesday morning, you will have it. So I just wanted to give that heads up for my loyal listeners. Okay, but without further ado, let's get into it. All right, I need to start with Summer House. That was one of the best episodes I've seen of Summer House in so fucking long. I mean, truly one of the best episodes in years. I just loved it so much. I was so thoroughly entertained and happy. The same feeling I get with Miami that I watch and I'm just elated and cracking up at the confessionals and cracking up at the storylines and cracking up at the dynamics. That's what I was doing during Summer House. So that's making me feel a little bit better about the fact that Miami's no longer going to be on air for a few months. Is that I'm getting that same feeling right now with Summer House. I love that for me, and I hope it stays that way. Let's talk about the girl dynamic. I'm obsessed. We see Sierra and Gabby getting along, which if you remember last season, that was not always the case. Then Paige and Sierra, I just feel like they came to the summer more excited. It seems that no one's talking about the fact that it's because Lindsay and Carl won't be there. But Paige was on her game. And I'm obsessed with Paige. I'm a giggler. Even outside of Summer House, I just love her and will always love her. But this episode, she's just been really good on the show. Last season, I was I love her, but she's not really giving. This season, she's giving. She came to work. She came for a check. She looks like she's having fun. She seems genuinely so just happy. And not that she didn't seem it last season, but this season, she's giving really good energy. And just her dynamic with the girls, with Danielle, with Gabby, with Amanda, they're just all such a good group. And then, of course, we see the fact that they all got into bed together. That was fucking iconic. That was so iconic. So, yeah, I love the girl dynamic. I love that they're getting along. We'll see how it lasts. We'll see what happens with Lindsay. I mean, it seems based on the fact that, there were interviews and stuff after Carl and Lindsay ended, that the girls really came together for Lindsay and to back Lindsay up. So maybe that happens by the end of the season. Who knows? I don't think we'll get it for the majority of the season, but we'll have to stay tuned. And I honestly fucking died. I died for the majority of the episode, but when Gabby called Carl and Lindsay and was like, no, we're literally okay, there's no one missing. And Lindsay's like, minus us. I was cackling. I was fucking cackling. It was such a good moment. And listen, I love Carl and Lindsay. I do think they bring a lot to the show. but you can tell the happy-go-lucky energy was probably because they weren't there. And even Gabby was like, "Yeah, no, of course, like, you guys, but, like, we're having so much fun." And then let's talk about the new additions. I think particularly West is the best casting Summer House has done in years. Like, truly iconic. His confessionals are everything. And even just, like, the moment he kind of, like, not put Paige in her place because she doesn't need to be put in any place, but, like, kind of had that banter with her where he was like, "Yeah, so, like, when are you gonna start doing the dishes? Like, before or after?" I was like, "This is good." And you can tell in that moment they're all like, "Alright, we fuck with this guy." I'm really excited to see him on the show. I hope he stays for seasons to come. I think he'd be great in Winter House and stuff. Like, he's a really fun guy to watch. And he is that guy that he's obviously very good looking, but that personality is just like, I know you're gonna do me dirty. Like, I know you're gonna do me dirty, and I'm gonna love every fucking moment of it. And it's true what the girls were saying when they were comparing. It's so fucking savage when they were comparing Jesse Solomon and Wes. And they were like, one of them knows where the clit is. One of them is a lover. One of them's a humper. Like, it's just, it's exactly right. Continuing on what I was saying with the girl dynamic. Like, that was such a fun girl moment that I know so many girls watching were like, yeah, my friends and I have had that exact discussion about guys. So I was here for it. But no, I love Wes. His confessionals were everything. You can tell he's just like a man who like truly respects women and comes from a really cool background. So far, so fucking good. And the fact that Sierra was in the kitchen and then you have Paige and Amanda cracking up, being like, we've never seen her do this before. And even Kyle telling him after was like, known her for a few years and I've never seen her in the kitchen. That was really, really fun. And then speaking of Kyle, we have Kyle and Amanda's discussion. Now, my friend Mariana and I were discussing it, and we're like, Amanda's in a bad mood with him. She's in a bad mood. I personally think they're going to stick it out, and it's just like having a rough patch, and they're probably like playing it up for the cameras a little bit. I think Kyle knows what he's doing to a certain extent. I don't think they're making up this narrative to have a storyline, but I think they're probably playing it up a little bit. And Amanda's just like done with his shit. I think this will definitely be a storyline for the rest of the season. You can tell Sierra wants to get involved. And you can tell it's real. Like when Amanda's in the bathroom and Amanda was telling Sierra about the conversation, Sierra's like, what did that motherfucker say? So there's obviously a lot of truth to it. And I'm excited to see like Amanda kind of stick her ground and maybe find herself a little bit this season. Because Kyle does need to wake up and they can't be kids forever. And I know he probably doesn't want to hear that, but it's true. But I do like them together. I do like them figuring it out. I think it's real. I think it's raw. Like Amanda giving him attitude every 2 seconds is like, we've all been there, you know, where you're looking at a man and like just he breathes and you're like, can you shut the fuck up? So she's having that moment. And I think that's fair. They've been together for a decent amount of time. Although I did think it was interesting she brought up him cheating. That's the thing about cheating scandals and stuff is that you can take him back, but you will never truly forget because she's mad at him and she's bringing it up. Something to be said there. Okay, also the Paige and Craig, I'm obsessed. I love them together. When he was like, I'm gonna buy a racehorse, she's like, no, you're not. And he's just like cracking up in the background. I love them. I'm such a fucking stan. Oh, Summer House, I think it's gonna be a great fucking season. I'm so hyped. I always love and like when we have a rough season for a show and then the next season they just fucking bring it. Also, I noticed Mia was missing. Are we gonna miss her? I don't know. Maybe she'll make an appearance as a friend of. Only one way to find out. But I think last season she wasn't really willing to show us her life. And I think that's what you have to do on reality TV, at least a little bit of it. Like, you can't be lying about messages and you can't be lying about certain stuff and you can't be trying to take your mic off. So I think major points got deducted there. Okay, then let's go on to Southern Hospitality. If you don't watch, you should. Are the first 2 seasons the best 2 seasons of reality TV of all time? Absolutely not. But does the show and the group have so much potential to be Vanderpump? Yes. I think there's a few differences that could be key in determining that. Mainly, their desire to be famous. And listen, all the people on Vanderpump, when they started, they all wanted to be famous. They all wanted to be actors. They wanted to be singers. I don't know if they necessarily wanted to be reality TV stars. I think they thought it would get them to the places they wanted to be in their careers. But they just ended up being reality TV stars and we're like, fuck it, we'll stick with it. Now, I think Southern hospitality is a little different because no one really knows what their career goals are. I mean, obviously they do want to work in hospitality, most of them. And then like Maddie wants to be a DJ, but like besides that, like I don't really know, what does TJ want to do? Like, does Emmy want to own her own club one day? Like, I don't know. But their reunion was really good. You could tell they're fresh. You can tell they don't really know what they're doing because they're all like talking over each other. No one's answering questions properly. People are talking over Andy. You can tell Andy had very little patience. But I love when he can just be like real with a cast. Like I'm obsessed. Like I feel like with Housewives, he tends to be a little bit more just, I don't know, like walks a certain path, doesn't get too involved. Versus with Vanderpump, with Summer House, with Southern Charm, like he really, you can tell what his opinions are. And like with Maddie, he was like, you were lying. You were lying. And there were other points where I love when Andy does this. And I don't know if you guys have noticed it, but in a reunion, if one of the cast members, let's say there's two cast members fighting about something, and one of the other cast members is trying to bring something up and ask a question and hold that person accountable and call them on their bullshit, that person, the other cast member will evade the question. And then Andy will just ask it. And it kind of forces that person to answer it. And I just love it every time it happens. I love it. Okay, but let's get into it. So Maddie is a liar. And I like Maddie. I enjoy watching her on the show. I think she makes the show. She's a little fucking crazy. The fact that she doesn't drink and is still like out there fighting people, like I'm here for it. I am. It's kind of tough to watch at times, but it's entertaining nonetheless. But it affects her credibility. And when we're watching reality TV, we need credible people. Maybe manipulative. I don't care if you manipulate people. I don't care if you're a little bit of a gaslighter here and there. But we need you to be honest with us. Because if we can't trust you, you're fucked. And I don't think the viewers trust Maddie. I don't think Andy trusts Maddie. It's a problem. Like her just answering the basic questions about her and Trevor, she couldn't. And it's maybe because she's done like some media training, but it's failed because she just doesn't know how to lie. And you can tell she's evading certain things. Like Andy literally was like, have you hooked up since? She's like, yeah, I mean, I've seen him. He's like, have you hooked up? And that's a problem. Like, we don't really want to see that. But she might grow. She might learn. Who knows? Then Joe Bradley, he is the new Jax Taylor. He thinks he's the number one guy in the group. And he was. But he no longer is. Because the fame fucking got to him. The fame really fucking got to him. And I like him. And I think he has potential. But I think he needs to be humbled ASAP. Because he's going down a very dangerous path. Now, you can tell when his Watch What Happens Live and this and that, him dating Danielle, the BravoCon, I think his ego just got completely inflated. I'm sure people go to Republic and ask for him and are obsessed with him and throw themselves at him. So I'm sure it's getting to him and it needs to not get to him because the way the DM that he sent TJ was fucking disturbing is actually the only word I can find for that. Absolutely appalling. And no one comes for TJ. I didn't think I was a TJ stan because he came for Olivia. And I was like, shut the fuck up. And I know he's best friends with Taylor. And Taylor's dating his roommate, Taylor Ann from Southern Charm. But TJ seems like a great person. He seems like a great friend. He seems loyal. And they gave him the credit at the reunion that he's the glue that keeps everyone together. Like, he's the reason they're all friends. So that's probably why he's not as messy as people want him to be. And he's not involved in the show as people want him to be. Because you can tell he actually cares about his fucking friendships. And maybe now with everything going on with Joe, you can tell he's really hurt by it. Like when he got emotional and was upset and crying. But maybe next season I'll make him bring it. We also need to talk about Joe and Maddie hooking up after breaking up with Trevor and the timeline weirdness and the fact that they just like glossed over that. I'm like, what? Can we get into that a little bit more, especially like on how season 1 went? Yeah, we didn't get enough of that, but maybe season 3 will be a good place for it. I love Mia and Lucia. Those girls are my girls. I'm obsessed with them. I know Sheen needs to shut the fuck up. about putting women in their place. Because, like, he needs to also be humbled. And I like him, and I think he's fun. And I have mutual friends with him. But no, my friend. Absolutely not. Absolutely fucking not. And Lucia and Mia are both, like, Hispanic women. Like, whatever. You can tell they're both fiery. You can tell they don't give a fuck. Like, they are completely different to the other women on the cast in the way that they handle themselves. And I, as a fellow Hispanic woman, would like to think that's the reason. But Oshin doesn't fuck with that. Because I don't see Mia and Lucia talking more shit than any of the other girls on the cast. Sorry to fucking tell you. I mean, the only girl who really doesn't talk shit is Grace Lilly. That's the only one who really doesn't talk shit about other people on the cast. She's definitely a good reality TV star, but the fact that she's not really to get into the drama makes me go, don't know how much longer you're going to last. But, like, he should not come for those women that way ever again. All right? Glad I got that off my chest. Also, I didn't really understand Emmy and the AGM position and what happened there. That wasn't really clear. You can tell she was very flustered by the whole conversation. Understandably so. And then I feel like we really need to talk about Leva because the boss, the LVP of the group, is so important for the success of the show. And I love Leva. I respect Leva. But I think Leva needs to take a few notes from LVP. Not on how to run the business, right? Like, I know she's a great business. But how to run this show and how to make sure you're creating certain types of dynamics. For example, and Ange and I, my friend and I, were talking about this because Lucia went on her Insta stories and said that her and Leva, like, don't really have a relationship anymore. Like, they're cordial. They see each other, blah, blah, blah. That would never happen on Vanderpump. Even if Lisa had to fire someone, she would kind of keep them under her wing because she is so motherly. Now, I think one of the reasons that's not happening on the show with Leva is because Leva's young. Like, Leva's a cool cat. Leva's not that much older than these people, you know? She's obviously a little bit older, but, like, not that much older. She doesn't have kids their age versus Lisa has a son and a daughter who were, like, the Vanderpump kids' age and, like, running around with them. So I think she kind of treated them like children and was very motherly. She's obviously not going to mother Lucia because Lucia has a child the same age as her. You know, like, they're the same vibe. But you gotta keep those relationships as the boss. Like, they're so important for the show. Really, truly. And, like, I hope her relationship with Mia is good. Like, it's just important. Like, Leva needs to take notes on how to help the group function. And to some extent, she has to encourage debauchery in a respectful way. Like, they don't fuck, like, a lot of the Vanderpump people don't fuck with Lisa Vanderpump. Like, they respect her so much and they respect the workplace. But it's still a certain dynamic that gets created. And I don't know if it can be replicated, but I think Leva should maybe think on how she should strategize to do that a little better because this group could very easily fall apart quite quickly. And they're all a bunch of fame whores. Love them, but still. And yeah, I just want to end with TJ. Like, he is a star. He deserves more respect, more recognition. I hope next season will come and bring it. And I love the tea that he spilled and the way that he handled it. Like, he was trying not to be messy. He was just like, you need to be honest, Joe. Like, come the fuck on. And Joe wasn't having it. And I love that Andy was like, can we hear more from TJ? Because I can tell TJ has something to say and doesn't want to say it. And then there was just, like, silence. Like, TJ obviously felt uncomfortable. He doesn't want to do this, but Joe's not really giving him a fucking option. So I have a lot of love for him. I have faith in him. I want to continue to see him on the show. I always love when I see him in Southern Charm, like, in the background. He was in the finale episode. Don't know if anyone noticed. In the bar fight at Whitney's place. So yeah, big fan of Southern Hospitality. Once again, if you don't watch, you should. Now, let's move on to Below Deck. Wow, I'm living for fucking Fraser, man. I'm living for him. He is giving Kate Chastain level Chief Stew. He really is. Because he's messy. He loves a bit of drama, but you will not fuck with him. Like, the way he put Barbie in her place and was like, "Well, you're being a bitch to me," was iconic. It was iconic, truly, truly, because he's just not messy in confessionals. He's also messy in person in a way that I think Kate Chastain was really good at being. And no bullshit, no tolerating it. But also he's trying to create a warm environment and trying to recognize, for example, that Kat, needs to be listened to. So he goes, sits and listens to her. But then when she does something wrong, he's like, this is unacceptable. I'm very impressed by him. I'm very, very impressed with him, especially from last season. I think he's really making himself a good member in Below Deck in the franchise. Now, I love that we got to learn more about Kat. It's such an interesting backstory. It's heartbreaking in so many ways. I think it makes us have a lot of compassion for her as viewers because obviously she can be a little bit frustrating to watch at times. And I'm sure she was frustrating to work with. But when you get background on people, you're like, oh, no wonder she feels insecure, or no wonder she's a little bit emotional when this happens. Like, you understand it more. And I think maybe there are people watching who connect to her story and they can see how she's doing now. Even though, yeah, she's still a little emotional and has her shit. She's working on a fucking super yacht. She's on reality TV. She's beautiful. She's kind. There's so much to say about the way that she holds herself. Now, Barbie, listen, she's a fucking bitch. She's a tough bitch. And not in a likable way. And I think she thinks she's being likable. I really do think she's being likable. Also, I have a bone to pick about people who say they're from Miami when they're not. Just because you've lived there doesn't mean you're from there. She obviously grew up in like different parts of Latin America. I know she said Uruguay, in Argentina, and I don't know where else. But like, Miami, girl, don't say that, please. It's offensive. And yeah, I think she's just not doing a good job of representing Latina. She's being a bitch. And I also just mean the attitude, the insubordination. It's just not cool. It's disrespectful. And then she becomes a victim. Like Frasier saying, hey, just be nice. Like, okay, yeah, I'll make sure to do that. Like, I was already planning on it, but all right, I'll keep that in mind. Like, just don't have to be such a bitch. And I hate to come for women like that, but like, I just have to get that off my chest. Also, can we just talk about how annoying Ben is being? And I really like him, and he's so cute, and he's fun, but he's being a pick-me. Like, very much a pick-me. I think he's going to make the season really good because he's messy and he's a pot stirrer. But seriously, like, dude, relax. Like, you're doing too much. You're doing way too much. You gotta simmer it down. I don't think he's gonna listen. So this is probably gonna fall on deaf ears. And it's also a little too late to give him that advice. But I have to get that off my chest. I just feel like it's giving OG Below Deck. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but maybe I think the reason it is because it's giving slightly chaotic chef, which we've had chaotic chefs, but not chaotic chefs during Charter. So they've been like drunk after, starting drama after. But on Charter, like their food tends to be really good. Like they might have a breakdown or two, but like it's not that bad. This is giving chaotic chef. And I like him, but it's true. Then like, yeah, just the food issues. And then you're going to get crew hookups. You're going to get messiness. Everyone's a little crazy. The stews particularly are a little crazy, a little emotionally unstable. You're getting a tough chief stew who's also in for the drama, and a captain who's willing to get involved. So I have no notes thus far. We'll see how the season continues. All right, now let's get into Potomac. Okay, Wendy and Nneka. I'm officially definitely on Nneka's side because Wendy refuses to move on. And that's okay, and that's her prerogative, but it's not going to make her a good housewife at all. People have done worse to each other's families. Move the fuck on. And if you're not willing to move the fuck on, then you can't come on next season. I said what I said, all right? I said what I fucking said. Because she's also said worse about other people. So I don't know why she's now getting her panties in a twist. Like, we are done with the storyline. We like to see women forgive and get along. I'm sorry, if Alexia and Adriana can be fucking cordial after Adriana made those comments about Frankie, you can get over it. You could fucking get over it. And maybe you're being defensive because what she's saying is a little true. So, I'm over it. I also love that the women went to Casa de Campo. I really wanted the Miami women to go there because it's such a Miami destination. I've been to Casa Campo a few times. I was there literally last year for my friend's bachelorette. Not that if you're listening. Love you. So much fun. And then a few other times before that. And there was one time where my mom literally flew on the same flight as Larsa, and she was still with Scottie Pippen at the time. So, yeah, it's a great destination. Now, the room drama was so stupid. I hate room drama. I know people love it. It reminds them of OG New York, of Ramona. I think there's nothing worse. Shut the fuck up. With Karen being like, I'm going to go have them find me something. You have no idea how Casa Campo works. Like, it's all houses and villas. Like, I don't think there's a hotel, not that I know about, where you can just like go rent one room. Unless you want to buy a whole ass villa for yourself, like, you're going to have to stay in one of those damn rooms. Like, shut the fuck up. And I love Karen, but I really didn't love that. She doesn't know how Casa Campo works, and her husband should have warned her. Then what else happened that episode? The whole Grand Dame thing, stupid. I live for Candace. I live for her just like walking away. I thought that was kind of necessary. Like, it's just silly. I like Giselle, but then Giselle does shit like that, and I'm like, please stop. Like, please stop. It's too much. It really is too much. It's annoying. But yeah, hopefully the trip will be good. Hopefully it'll give us something. I don't know what else happened. Like, Ashley, is she gonna get divorced? Probably not this year. I don't know. And then we find out Mia does get divorced, so it's interesting to kind of see the way she's talking about it. Very interesting. But yeah, once again, Potomac didn't give much, but they're in a fun location. So I thought I'd talk about it. I wouldn't have talked about it if they weren't in Casa Campo, not gonna lie, selfishly. Just because now I get to tell you guys that I've been there. I get to have that moment. Maybe I'll post a few pics. We'll see where they end up during the day. Like, if they go to like certain locations, maybe I'll just post pictures of myself there to make it about me. Okay, no, I'm kidding. So, all right, now that I've covered those shows. It's time to discuss Miami, but I won't be discussing it alone. We have our guest with us, Carolyn. We're so happy to have you here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me. Always down to talk some Bravo.
I know, who isn't? We all just like, there's so many people who just want to sit and talk about Bravo, so I'm really happy to have you here. How long have you been watching Bravo? Like, what's your relationship?
So I started my Bravo journey like in 2018. And I started from the beginning with Beverly Hills. So I like watched it all and like fully caught up. And that was like my first franchise I really got into. I'd seen like snippets of like New York and I tried to get into it earlier, like the earlier New York's original cast. And it never really hit for me. For
Okay.
some reason, I don't know. It just like didn't hit. And then I finally made a conscious decision. I was like, I'm going to try Beverly Hills because it's like it seems more luxury in my opinion, in the sense of like, I'm from Jersey, right? So
Okay.
the idea of like Beverly Hills seems like very foreign, very glamorized, whereas New York was like a little too close to home. It's like I knew the places they were going. It just wasn't like, it just wasn't as glamorous. I don't know. And I never even touched Jersey. I like tried it and I was like, this is like too close, like way too close. So it was like, I'm like so far removed from California and Beverly Hills and all that. I was like, I feel like this is like, because I watch Bravo and Housewives for like, as an escape. I don't want to like see myself in it really. So yeah, I started with Beverly Hills in like 2018. I started from the beginning. So Beverly Hills is like a special place.
Which brings me to my question that I ask every guest that comes on. What is your favorite franchise of all time?
Okay. So I love Beverly Hills, like I said, because that's where I started. However, I think recent seasons have kind of molded my opinion a little bit. Like, I really feel Miami and Salt Lake are kind of where it's at. Like, I will always watch Beverly Hills because I feel vested in it because, like I said, it's where I started and everything. So I guess I have like a three, like top three. Like it's Miami, it's Salt Lake, and Beverly.
Okay, very fair. And then, who are your top 5 favorite housewives of all time?
In like no particular order. Lisa Rinna, Heather Gay, Lisa Barlow, Mimi, and Dr. Nicole from Miami. I do like Marisol too, but she's like a friend of now, so I'm like,
Mhm. Yeah,
mhm.
very fair. I like that list.
I
I do
mean,
like that list. Let's get into Miami.
yeah, okay.
I
Miami's so fun.
That finale was so fucking good. It just left no crumbs for me. Okay, Larsa and Marcus, an interesting pair we have. And Julia and Adriana on Watch It Happens Live alluded that they're going to have a change of opinion on Marcus at the
Mhm.
reunion. So I'm
I saw
very
that.
interested. But the one thing I will say about Larsa, and I can't stand her right now, but I do kind of respect where she's coming from in that she's like, I'm not going to address the Michael Jordan stuff with my friends because he's not my dad. Like, that's getting towards disrespectful energy. Like, Marcus, you should be the one that addresses it. So I did appreciate it that she talked about it on camera. So
Mhm.
there's something to be said there of like, she's still showing us the
Right.
conversation, but she's not necessarily having it with the ladies.
Mhm.
But man, it's so awkward.
I fully agree. When they were filming their podcast and she's like, "Well, I don't want to answer this question. It's your dad. You should answer it." I fully agree with that. Like, because it is that, and also to her point, what she says, they are both adults. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
younger than her, but whatever. That he's like in his 30s, where they're
Yeah, yeah,
adults.
yeah. Yeah.
So to her point, like, yeah, does it matter if Michael
Mhm.
Jordan doesn't like her? You know what I mean? Like, I get it also because of like the Scottie Pippen of it all and like the relationship there.
Mhm.
But if this was any other sort of situation, it just, it wouldn't matter. Like, who cares?
Yeah, yeah,
You
it
know?
really doesn't. And then let's talk about the Havana party. Havana night, I was obsessed. As a Cuban girly, I was like, they're really showing our culture. They're doing it. It was so fun. I loved all the outfits. They were on theme,
Mhm.
minus Larsa. Don't know why
Mhm.
Larsa showed up like a mermaid, but like,
I was literally gonna say mermaid vibes.
whatever. It was cute, but it was a little off theme.
Yeah.
And they just like really know how to represent our city. I'm obsessed.
Mhm.
But
I think the visuals for Miami are just out of this world. I have this like soft spot for Miami in my heart too. So like the color, the vibe, like you can really feel it through the screen. Like felt it with the Havana Nights party. Like just the visuals, not only the clothes, but like the neon signs, the decorated, like all of it was
the
just
music, the people there, the talking,
yeah.
everything about it. So we have to get into the whole Gertie Larsa situation. The narrative that Larsa's creating that her arm hurt after the trip because Gertie love bit her is the most infuriating storyline I've heard in a long fucking time.
I
Long.
didn't really get it at first. I like didn't get the bite thing until they showed it because like I didn't see it.
Yeah.
Or, like, if they showed it, like, initially when it happened, I didn't clock it because why? It's insane. The one thing I will say, though, for Larson, I'm a Libra, so I always see both sides of everything. But the one thing is when she says, "It's affecting me too," and she's like, "We're constantly fighting every time I see it." Granted, how she says it is not as nice as I'm saying it, but
Mhm.
"We fight every time I see you. It's unpleasant." It's like, whatever. I get that. Right? Like, it's not nice to see someone and fight with them every single time. It does weigh on you. It is uncomfortable, right? But she's wrong. And if she didn't want to be doing that, she would have just said, "You know what? I'm wrong. And let's cut
So
it."
the reason they're fighting is because Larsa's acting like a dick.
Exactly. No, she's
But
100%. She's the cause of her own discomfort.
yeah,
She's like perpetuating it. Yeah.
because Gertie was willing to move on in Mexico. Gertie was willing to be like, I'm done, but it's like, keep my name out of the fucking press. And I have loved Gertie this season, but I have not necessarily been like a Gertie fan per se
Same.
till
Same.
now.
Same.
But I'm like, she's on the right side of like, keep my name out the press. We discussed it. We had a conversation. So then why are you insinuating it? Even if you're not naming me, you know what you're doing.
And that's so childish. One is like, "Well, I didn't actually say your name." It's like, it's implied. We all know. And it's still, and it doesn't matter. If Gertie knows she's talking about her, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I felt that the moment they had in that church when Gertie was crying, that felt very real. That felt authentic. So the fact that, and this is where I think Lars's fakeness comes into place, right?
Mhm.
The fact that she can have that intense moment and it feels real, and I'm sure it was,
Yeah.
and then double like turn it around like weeks later and act like that moment didn't happen, it's like that's fake. That's not.
It's also like Gertie is getting chemotherapy tomorrow, can we not yell? For example, like it's not that you can't like have an issue with someone who's going through this. Like,
Right.
sure, you're on a show, you're gonna have conflict. It's part of the plot line. I get it. But can you not come in as hard? Do you have to yell? Do you have to be mean? Do you have to say mean shit to her?
Mhm.
And then Gertie just rips that wig off and is like, this is what I fucking did today.
It should have been done after that. She doesn't
Mhm.
have to do that, but that should have ended it. I think Alexia said it the best to Larsa. She
Mhm.
was like, "Listen, she's getting chemo tomorrow. She shaved her head today. Like,
Yeah.
what
So,
isn't clicking?" Like,
yeah. And that, I mean, let's talk about that shaving head scene.
oh
It
my
was
god,
emotional. I was,
I was bawling. That was really intense, and like Russell doing it felt very important. The fact that she even did some of it herself, like it felt very. And to be honest, I never understood the shaving head thing in terms of like because I know people do it like it's not just for cancer; they do it for other things. But I never understood, and I think she explained it so well. It's like the one thing she can control in this
yeah,
whole process is like when I lose my hair, if I
yeah,
do. It just felt like so I got it as, like,
yeah,
someone who never understood it because, like, I'm so connected to my hair and, like,
yeah.
but she just made it make so much sense.
Hmm.
And I think put showing that vulnerable moment is just, like I just applaud her for that. That's so insane to me, like, to put yourself out there like that. It's
Yeah.
just it's
I mean, her
amazing.
first her first chemo session was also filmed. Like that stuff
Yeah.
makes such a difference for women. I cannot even imagine the amount of women who watch The Housewives, who have experienced breast cancer or other forms
That's
of
right.
cancer, seeing it and being like, wow, like I feel so connected, like I feel represented, like, get to therapy in a certain way. And also the
Mhm.
fact that we get to see the unconditional love between Russell and Gertie.
It's so rare. I feel like a lot of times housewives go on the show and their marriages are on the rocks for whatever reason. But it's not like that for we're seeing the exact opposite. Like someone even how he stood up for her at the party and he wasn't mean to Larsa. He just told her to be respectful, which is right. And but he also told Grady, he's like, "You don't need that." He's like, "Why are you doing this?" And she's like, "You're right. You're absolutely right." He wasn't like, "Why are you upping your see?" He handled it completely right. And obviously he's a man, he's gonna get angry that someone is like hating on his wife. Like, you know what I mean? I just think he handled it so amazingly and like
Mm-hmm. Loved it. I loved it. And Lisa's involvement is really obnoxious.
she's on the wrong side and she's only doing it because I think her and Lars are cut from the same cloth. You know,
Mhm,
the inability to step outside yourself and have some empathy. I mean, we've seen that with Lisa all season, right?
mhm,
I think maybe she is taking Larsa's side in a bit because Larsa has been there for her all season. I mean, they had that little powwow. But she's just wrong, and, like, yeah, don't insert yourself, don't run after Gertie and everything, and Nicole said it best, Nicole's like, "Gertie's my best friend, I know what she needs in this moment, she needs you to give her space." And so that just shows Lisa is not Gertie's friend, you know what I'm saying? Like, she didn't know how to handle it, she just wanted to make herself feel better.
definitely. Also, who knew Lisa was Jamaican?
Yeah, no, I knew she was, like, a mix of something. Cause I remember, like, I Googled her, last season, but I don't think Jamaican came up.
And then it was just interesting when she was talking to her mom and they were talking about the experience with Lenny's parents, and she was saying they looked down on my family because like we didn't have money and stuff. And I'm like, I
Mhm.
feel like that rubbed off on you, girl.
I thought the exact same thing, I was like, "Well, now look where you are, and you're throwing chicken at, like,
Yeah.
dogs that you think are poor, like, that whole scene is
Mm,
what she learned from that.
yeah. It's
Like
crazy. It is really interesting. So yeah, her involvement at the Vanna was bugged. But I just love how the women can have this insanely heated conversation, blow
Mhm.
up. And then it's like Adriana's on stage. All right, let's go. Like, like
I
impressive.
and that's why Miami is such good vibes, I think, because they can kind of, like to me, for Miami, it feels like they actually are friends. They're not just coworkers, like, they genuinely care, they genuinely, like, show up. The fact that Marisol called Adriana before her show and stuff and wishing her well and everything, it's like, after all they went through all season, like, they care, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they can show up for their friends and, like, put it aside. Like, I that's why I like Miami. It feels, like, real and it lighthearted in a way. Even though they dealt with very heavy themes,
Hmm.
it didn't have the same heaviness as Beverly Hills to me.
100%. I said it on one of the episodes recently where I compared Miami and Beverly Hills, and you see it so well in the church scene. that
Mm,
each had. But,
yeah.
like, not the church scenes, the emotional scenes.
Yes. Yes.
With, like, when Gertie, they're having that moment, they're in front of La Virgen de Guadalupe, they all hug each other, they come in
Mhm.
together, they're holding each other, versus the throwing of the ashes, which was a very emotional moment. For a lot of them, they all released something, even though some of them, what they released wasn't that emotional, but whatever. That's
Yeah.
another conversation. Well, Sudden literally had to be like, can we all hug each other? Like, it just doesn't
Yeah.
feel natural. It just doesn't.
No. They're
Uh,
very much like coworkers.
very much coworkers. With that being said, anything else about Miami? Or are we ready to get into Beverly Hills?
Let's go. Let's fly to
I'm
California.
ready. I mean, heavy episode. I'm a very easy crier, very
Okay.
easy. So
Fair.
I watched Miami and Beverly Hills back to back. I was sobbing all morning.
I had to take a break. I
Yeah,
couldn't.
it
Dang.
was heavy. It was
Mhm.
heavy. I mean, where do we begin with Beverly Hills? I feel like Kyle and Mauricio need to. We're gonna get to that. We'll handle
Yeah.
that all at once. But let's
Mhm.
start with the more chill stuff.
Mhm.
I mean, Sutton and Kyle. What's going on there?
I don't know. I go back and forth on Kyle a lot. But in terms of like the Sutton and Kyle, what Sutton was trying to do was she was playing producer at those dinners and being like, what's going on with your marriage, whatever. She didn't, to Kyle's point, it was not coming from a place of caring, right?
Yeah.
But by the same coin, Kyle has been the Sutton to other people. She's been like, no, you have to say this. That we're on this show. You know what I mean? She's hidden behind bringing on her sisters in the form of like exposing herself. But no, she's never really come clean about it. She keeps it close to the vest side. And I felt like they had a moment in Barcelona when Sutton was crying before the Ash releasing. And I don't know, because it's the same kind of thing. It's like they can have this moment, but then what is it, a couple weeks later, and like that didn't mean anything? Like, do we have amnesia? Like,
Mhm.
you know,
Weird.
and even Sutton's like tone of voice at the very end of the episode when she's FaceTiming herself, and she's like, it's sus, it's blah blah. I'm getting called out because of all this. That's not what she cares. She's just mad. You know what I mean? I'm not a Sutton fan. So
Okay, I've become a Sutton fan shockingly
okay.
this season, but I
Okay.
would say Kyle over Sutton.
Yeah.
I didn't like the way Sutton handled that. I
No.
thought the fact that she was saying Kyle's been lying to us all season to me is bullshit. Because
Yeah.
Kyle has not been lying. She's never said nothing is wrong in my marriage. She's just
Hmm.
evaded the question. And quite honestly, once again, I said this before, Kyle has given the viewer insight. Whether it's been full, whether it's been with a lot of detail, whether we want more is a different story. But
Hmm.
to say that we're all shocked by the end of the season that suddenly this news hit, no, we've been along for the ride.
Right.
We've seen her and Mauricio talking. We've seen her talk to Dorit about it. We've seen it all happen. Sutton doesn't necessarily also have a right to that information. It doesn't have to be we have to share it with the group. She's still
Hmm.
sharing it on the show. So that lying, it was just fucking bullshit. Also, hot take, I would lie for my family too.
Honestly, I think a big part of it is you don't know where these things are going to end. You know what I mean? For her to say, she could say one week, you know, oh, we're breaking up. And then maybe the next week they work it out or something, or they work out an agreement. And so then she has to say again the next week, like, oh no, by the way, we're staying down. You don't know. There's another person involved. It's not just Kyle, it's her family, it's Mauricio. Like all this stuff, like it's very volatile. It can change week to week. So there's no definitive answer for her to give us besides what she gave us, which is like, we're going through trouble, you know what I mean? But you don't know how that's gonna end. Maybe she was thinking about separation, but maybe she didn't know what Mauricio was like, you know what I mean? So, but on the same side of it, I do think Kyle has evaded showing things over the years. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think she's used other people as storylines and like it's worked for her. I'm not mad at it, but like I
I'm calling
like
you
I
out.
said, flip flopper. I see all of it. Like from a human perspective, I can understand why she would not. Um,
100%.
share those things because who knows?
The white party was, I don't know how much there is to discuss there besides Denise Richards having that little hot mic moment, which is
Uh,
fucking hilarious.
I love Denise. I love her. Hot mess, but love her.
I love her too. The only thing is, I've loved her in previous seasons. I think her appearances this season, particularly, especially on podcasts after, I've
Yeah.
lost my credibility with her a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
Where I'm like, girl, don't deny being fucked up. Don't bring the fucking weed chef into this. Like, just own it. Like you were acting a little bit of a mess. No one really cares anymore. It'll be over in a week. Guys,
Mhm.
sort it out. But I do like her appearances on the show. I thought
I do too.
anything else that happened at the white party, Erica performing, loved it for her.
Yeah, and I liked how they all supported her too. I love to see women supporting women. They may fight, they may hate each other, whatever, but, like, even if they care, like, you know, like, actually cared, like, it seemed like they were supporting her. Like, they were really for it. They're like, "She's a pop star, she's doing it." Like, I love that.
Yeah,
That's what I love from Housewives.
me too. I don't think there is anything else to talk about in the white party though, is there?
Just that, like, moment where Mauricio didn't listen to Kyle when she said, "We're having it at the stadium." He was like, "Oh, I'm so glad we're having it there." Party
Tapped
comes, and
out.
granted, he's probably, like, a busy guy, whatever, I don't know, but, like, benefit of the doubt, but, like, he had no idea. He didn't even walk in with them. Like, it's just all so obvious.
But I will say I didn't mind the not walking in part just because I think in previous white parties, because Kyle and the girls take so much longer to get dressed, you have to have someone in the family like hosting.
Working the party.
So I was like, fair. I'll let him get away with that a little bit. At least he like met them kind of like at the entrance a little bit,
Mhm.
but it came off awkward. Like it came off
Yeah.
uncomfortable. And that, you can tell it's also trying to be edited to show that.
Yes.
So there's a
And
little
so
truth there, and then they're like over editing it to us, and I'm like,
mhm.
fair, it's fair.
Everything's like grain of salt, I feel like, when you realize how much is edited, and I feel like a lot of viewers don't take that into consideration, you know what I mean? I feel like you have to be a longtime viewer to kind of get it. It's like, all of these moments are just what we're being shown, and they can be edited any way. They do, like, Franken bites and, like, sound bites and all that stuff. They can, like, really manipulate a situation, so, yeah, we have to everything's grain of salt. Even narrators aren't reliable, you know what I'm saying? Like,
100%.
you gotta, like, make your own conclusions sometimes.
Yeah, you have to use what some would consider critical thinking
Yes.
and rationality, which not
Mhm.
all people. So, and then I think we just have to get into that scene. Kyle, well, the scene of the news breaking, and everyone's on their phone looking at it. I mean, Rob Minkoff being like, Morgan is the one that gave it to people with. So funny.
Which I could actually I don't know if I don't know, Morgan Wade, she's like a whole other thing. I don't know, she's a very interesting woman.
I can't
Um,
touch that until after the reunion. I really
yeah,
can't. I can't.
I
I
don't
feel
I
so uncomfortable.
she's just so perplexing. I don't know. Her as a person and then their situation is just like so interesting. But
I don't think Morgan gave it to people, but that was fucking hysterical.
that was hysterical.
And then, yeah, everyone had just like relatively normal reactions. I loved Erica and Kyle sitting down together. I thought Erica was the perfect person.
I agree, and it felt very real and like an actual friend conversation. The only thing is though, I don't know if you saw when Erica said to Andy, "I want you to eviscerate Kyle" at the reunion. Honestly, I love that clip. I don't know why she looks so evil and so beautiful. I like watched it a million times. I like should get over it. But like she's gonna have that conversation with Kyle that's very, again, very real, very empathetic, which is rare, I feel like, for Erica, but then say, no, she should have to answer everybody.
Yeah.
What happens between those two it's just interesting on the time. Like what you know what I'm saying? What makes the switch flip?
Well, I think, and I don't know if you saw the clip, there's a bit of the first part of the reunion where Andy calls Erica out while they're all sitting on the
Mhm.
sofa. And Kyle's like, I get it. It happened to her last season. Like, she's just kind of projecting onto me.
Mhm.
And she's been a good friend. But I
Right, she's
think,
willing to overlook, I think.
yeah, she's willing to overlook it. She's like, she put her housewife hat on, and I can't hate on it. I do think if it was Jareet or someone else who said it, it would be a completely different ball game.
Erica's actually doing the sit down as needed. I felt like she gave Kyle some really good advice. And
And
that
she didn't make it about her either. She
no.
didn't, like, she connected and she had like, I get it, I've been there. But she wasn't taking on Kyle's emotion. She wasn't
Mhm.
wearing them. Versus I
Mhm.
think any other person sitting across from her would have worn Kyle's emotion. That makes
Right. No, that totally makes sense. I think Erica does a good job of like kind of separating, especially because her situation is so unique.
sense.
Her marriage was so unique. But I do think she really heard Kyle and she gave her what Kyle needed. Like when Kyle said, like, even strangers are like saying, you guys made us believe in love. Like, obviously that's tough, right? But Erica said the right thing. She's like, there's two people in this marriage. It's
Yeah.
you and Mauricio. Like, it doesn't matter what all these people are saying.
No, it doesn't.
So I thought that was really important for Kyle to hear. And I think that whole sit down moment
Mhm.
made up for the maybe lack of sharing all
100%.
season. Yeah, like that was such a vulnerable moment and
Mhm.
it makes sense. So I don't feel like, and again, like Sutton isn't privy to this sort of thing, but like as a viewer, I don't know, I feel like she has shared a bit. I don't really like the headline going on, like, is she dating Morgan on the lie? Is she whatever? I don't really like that. But I think to an extent, like she's sharing as much as she can
Agreed. And then we
because
have
we
that
don't
moment
know.
with the family where they all sit down with the daughters.
Yeah.
When I tell you, I was in tears. I was unwell. It was like if I'm a family member. And like to a certain extent, I've been watching Beverly Hills since it first aired. I've
Hmm.
been a part of the journey with them. I'm sorry,
The
Kyle.
montage killed me.
I've looked up to them. Like
Yeah.
I
Yes.
feel like, I'm one of her other daughters. I feel like she would treat me like a daughter if she ever met me.
Hmm.
So seeing her daughters break down, and I know we're gonna see more of it in buying Beverly Hills and stuff, which like is
Yeah.
something that's gonna take me out. But it was when Portia breaks down, I was like, I'm fucking done. And as a child of divorce, like I remember my sit down in the living room with my
Yeah.
parents. Like it fucking sucks. And I work in family law, so like I know how it can affect children. I know how dark it can be. And man, that's fucking heavy. Talk about putting your life for everyone to see.
And just like the look on Kyle's face when she says, we're a strong family, we always will be. You can tell she's like doing the stiff upper lip. Like I felt like she did want to break down, but she's like, no, I'm a mom to these kids.
Mm.
And when she said, I've been putting up with things that I would not want my daughters to put up with, or she said something to the effect of that, I was like, that is so not only being a good mom, but like being a stand up woman.
Yeah.
I think her whole journey of independence is really important for women to see. And I don't know, I just like she's an OG. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
she's an it girl of Bravo, and she's
Yeah.
just doing it right.
All right. Let's get into Vanderpump Rules. Unless you
Oh,
have anything
okay.
else to say about Beverly Hills. You have anything else to
No,
say about Beverly Hills?
let's go.
Okay. Vanderpump. Wow. Lisa's conversation with Lala and Sheena, I thought was necessary.
Okay.
I really did. Because now I think there is a distinction to be made of you guys need to be friends with him. You guys need to treat him a certain way. And you guys need to stop ruining his life on the internet.
Mhm.
Because during that time period, obviously the world hates him. We had a right to fuck that guy. We still have a
Mhm.
right to. He should be
Mhm.
canceled. But then you have his cast members going on every podcast, every day, every Amazon Live, just
Capitalizing on it,
capitalizing on it. Did I love it and did I eat it up?
of course.
But I get Lisa. There's a reason she only sat down Lala and Sheena. And she said, can we not? Like, he is having these thoughts and I'm nervous. So I think she was sending them a signal of like, back off. Like,
Mhm.
you don't have to be friends with him. Like, Ariana and Katie aren't friends with him, but they haven't destroyed him every chance they get on the internet. And that's the
Right.
distinction I think needs to be addressed. And I think that's what Lisa was doing.
Mhm.
I don't know what was your reaction to that conversation?
So I guess what it comes down to for me, and I don't know the answer, is,
Mhm.
and maybe none of us will, but is Tom actually having these thoughts? Because I know some people are in the side of like, no, he's just a master manipulator. Like he's not, like Ariana says, like, no,
Yeah.
he's not like that. That's not him. But I feel like you have to be a really like psycho person to fake something as intense as suicidal thoughts and then to bring it up to Lisa, whose brother did commit suicide. It just feels almost too evil for me. But maybe I'm naive. Maybe there are people like that out there. So that being said, if it's legit, I do think Lisa needed to have the conversation because and even what Brock was saying, like, first of all, Brock being the voice of reason, never saw that coming. But what he was saying was right. He's like, he said something to the effect of like, you don't want to wake up one day and be like, oh, well, I didn't do something when I could, or I contributed to something. And then now can't be taken back.
Yeah.
So, and I don't think mental health should be weaponized. but it should be acknowledged. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, so I get what Lisa was saying, and I do think it needed to be had. And also, like, why are they capitalizing on it? It didn't happen to them. So, if anything, they should definitely be the ones to pull it back. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like an easier, like, live your life, make
Also,
content about that.
Ariana hasn't dragged his name through the mud at all. Like,
No,
genuinely at all.
she just got her bad.
Yeah. She was just like, all right, I'll make shady comments here and there, but nothing to like fuel the internet to the extent that Sheena and Lala did. And I
Mhm.
also think, in terms of like the mental health conversation, I personally will never know what Sandoval does or doesn't think. I will never know what
Right.
his day to day life looks like. I understand Ariana making the comments that she made,
Mhm.
but I also think Sandoval has a right to have to be in a bad mental state. Just like Ariana has, just because Ariana's doing really well doesn't mean she can't also be in a bad mental state.
Mhm.
And I think there needs to be a little bit more grace given to that reality and to the fact that we'll never know what he thinks or doesn't think or what he's experiencing or not experiencing. But
Right.
personally, if the whole world hated me, I would, maybe be like,
Yeah. Like, let's
this
keep
is,
out. Yeah.
yeah, like this is a little rough. Like, am I gonna get out of this? But he's also a narcissist. So maybe he's not actually thinking that. Once again, it's not me. It's not my life. I think there's enough to be said of like back off because
Mhm.
if he is having this thought, you won't be
Yeah.
happy if it ends up being the way it could
Yeah. And you don't wanna be responsible for that. No one wants to be
be.
responsible for, like, ending someone's life, and, like, I agree, the normal human reaction to getting that much hate would be serious depression, you know, and, like, wanting to work on yourself, but like you said, like, we don't really know. I don't know what's it, like I said, I think I've been manipulated in the past. He could be manipulating me through the screen. I don't know. Like,
There's no way to ever
so
find out. There's no way.
exactly. So, it's kind of better to err on the side of caution
Hmm.
in the sense of like, yeah, let's maybe dial it back. Because
Hmm.
if this is true and something were to happen, you can't take that back and you live with that guilt, like that's awful.
Yeah,
So,
agreed. Now, let's get into Jane.
okay.
Another topic I have a little bit of discomfort discussing because, in regards to his sobriety, I
Mhm.
think we all know James should probably be sober. I think
Yeah.
everyone who's ever watched him can be in agreement. But it feels so egotistical for me as a viewer to be like, this is what you should be doing with your life. Like, you
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing like that. You shouldn't be doing this. It's such an uncomfortable conversation. And the whole thing about him and Allie. And we've obviously seen the allegations of him being abusive,
Yeah.
XYZ. It's just so icky to me. I don't know how to touch it. I don't know how producers are going to handle it because we know it only gets worse in terms of the allegations.
Right. And they're not petty, they're serious. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, I do find it interesting when he was talking to Lala and he was like, well, the only time I've ever been sober before, I was doing it for Raquel or doing it for someone else. Now he says he's doing it for him. However, he said Allie had to give me an ultimatum to get me to this point. So which is it?
Yeah. It, I had the same thought of like, you're contradicting yourself because if you weren't with Ali, you wouldn't be getting sober. I
Yeah,
think
he has
he's
no
trying,
incentive.
yeah, I think he's making the point of like, I'm, she's not necessarily telling me verbatim, I need to get sober, but that's a black and white way of viewing it. I think we can
Mhm.
all say he's getting sober for his relationship. That's
Right.
a, like,
Yeah.
it's a fact. Now, the relationship is reflecting on his behaviors that he's realizing, oh, I need to do this for myself because I'm obviously not being the person I want to be. And it's
Right.
showing up in my relationship versus with Rachel, she was like, you got to get sober or we're done. So
Exactly.
I get the distinction, but I think his PR move of being like, it's for me, not for Allie. I'm like, that's not true.
It's like 50-50, I would say. And like maybe he truly thinks he's doing it for himself. Like I don't know.
Mhm.
But I if she wasn't here, would he be doing it? Would he have these same realizations? Probably not. I don't know.
Agreed. And then what do you think about seeing Billy Lee and Joe on our screen?
Get Joe off my screen. She is spooky, okay? She is. And, like, no way you're cutting a man's hair that you're not sleeping with. I'm sorry, that women
Yeah.
don't do that. So, I know what Billy's, like, aim is. Is it to be like, what's her goal? Is it to be because she's also doing, like, podcasts now and all this stuff.
Mhm.
So, is it to be in the spotlight again? Is it to be with Tom romantically? Like, what is I don't know. Um,
Maybe both.
maybe both exactly, like, it could go I don't think she's just there. Is it because Tom has no one to film with? Like, I don't think it's she's just there out of the goodness of her heart. And, like, the blind support she's giving him I get it, she's his friend or potential lover, I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, it's icky, it feels icky because I feel like if you are really a good friend of someone, you can tell them when they did wrong and when, like so it's feeling very yes man, and it's just, like, not I don't know, that whole cold plunge scene made me feel weird, and I just the conversation after, like is she just a facilitator for Tom to just, like, go off on his,
Yeah.
like, monologues? I don't know.
It's odd.
I don't need her there, though.
No,
Like
I don't. I would prefer if she was just like not involved.
exactly. Yeah, and the birthday party, like, her holding the cake, I don't know, that whole party was so sad, like, I'm a very empathetic person, and I felt I was feeling for Tom. So that's why I'm like, "Is he this genius? Did he throw this awful birthday party to make us have sympathy? Because 'Cause I'm having real feelings.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, I don't know.
Once again, affairs aren't the worst thing a human could do to another human. I hate to say it, but it's
I
not the
agree.
worst thing. Do I think we could all
It's
cancel him and hate him? Yeah. But
yes.
he made it worse. He could have been like, I fucked up. I am sorry. I shouldn't have done this. Done. Done, done, done.
However, I do think if this was, like, his first action of wrongdoing, maybe we could overlook it a little bit more, but he's shown us time and time again, and I think in the earlier seasons, he got away with it because there was, like, Dax and everything doing everything way worse.
Mhm.
I think he's just always been a horrible person.
Oh,
He was hard
that,
you know what I'm saying? Like, he's just a terrible person, and I think now this just kind of, like, really exposed him for who he
yeah,
is.
I'm with you there for
I agree, like, the idea of an affair isn't, like, terrible, but he's been so terrible,
yes,
you know? And I'm just like, you're just a terrible person. You like to hurt people
yes.
for your own
You're
selfish reason.
selfish.
I'm an empathetic person. I can always feel for someone. But then, yeah, he'll come out with like his New York Times article, and I'm like, oh, wait, you're actually a horrible human being. I take it back. You get nothing now.
Nothing. And then the episode ends with James and being reunited with Graham Cracker. And
Okay, so
let me
I
tell
have,
you, what do you thoughts do you have?
okay, so I just, being a dog owner, it felt, I don't know if like he had if it was just a produced scene and maybe he had known, it didn't feel like if I was reunited with my dog, I feel like I would have had like I know he cried and stuff, but like I would have been like, "Oh my god!" Like I just would have had more of a reaction. I wanted to love it. It was a heartwarming scene. I did like it,
Yeah.
but part of it just didn't hit for me a little bit. I don't know. Like it
Okay.
maybe that's just because I have a dog and like it
Okay, so
just didn't.
these are my thoughts on it. I
Yeah,
do think it was slightly produced only
right,
because you have the flashback scene of Lisa a few weeks before being like, what happened to Graham? Do I
right.
think it's weird that Lisa would ask what happened to Graham? No, she's a dog person. I would be asking the same shit.
Oh yeah.
But it's interesting. And then we find out because Sheena went on Amazon Live and was talking about how they got reunited with the dog while they were all in Lake Tahoe or wherever they end up.
Hmm.
And they had that scene filmed.
Hmm.
And obviously we're like, okay, so they refilmed the scenes. If like
Right.
they're doing it in Tahoe and then they did it at Vanderpump Dogs. So I do think there's something. I do think there's
That's
something to be said.
exactly. Like it definitely and so like I'm saying, I don't know if it was because it was produced or if he doesn't maybe feel the way he says he feels. Like I don't know. Who knows? But it didn't like hit in a natural way for me. Loved it, but it didn't hit in a natural way.
Can we also just like have a moment to recognize like Rachel is obviously a horrible person. I think we can all agree. It doesn't get worse than just giving your dog up.
The dog that she never trained that now has behavioral problems. Like I could go freaking on about this
Yeah.
topic because like it's your responsibility, right? And now the dog has a bad rep and can't find a home.
Yeah.
You know, or like, and I get it, having a dog is super responsibility. If you need to go into treatment, do whatever you need to do, girlfriend, but like leave it with your family or something. Pay for boarding. I don't know, you got Vanderpump Rules money. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
make it make sense. Or
Something.
give it to James Van Pierre. I don't know.
Or talk to
Don't
Lisa and be like,
don't think there are options. She did not have to just like dump that dog.
yeah, so
It's
fucked.
not okay.
So fucked. I'm glad he has a home with someone that he knows. I'm glad
Oh
they
my God, yeah.
renamed him. Like, thank fuck. But yeah, I thought it was a nice way to end the episode.
Yeah.
I'm
With
curious
some
to
lightness.
see how the season progresses.
I'm also interested to see because I know it's getting a lot of negative feedback and people are saying it's boring. We're talking about the same thing, but it's the timeline of it all. This just was filmed like 3 months after it dropped. And I'm not here for the Ariana hate. I'm not.
No,
I need like a woman needs to stand her ground, set her freaking boundaries, and make that money.
100%.
And I'm not gonna hate her for that.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I think it'll be an interesting season. Yeah, people are being a little rough on it. It's not
They
just
are.
being caught, but I think a lot of it is to blame the cast, particularly Lala and Sheena, about airing all of the dirty laundry. So we already know what happens. Like we know how it
Exactly.
progresses. That's the negative about it. I'm entertained. I'm eager.
Yeah. There's tons of
But
content to consume, but it's like it makes the episodes less interesting
yes, they need to
because
have
we
a
just
job.
know.
They need to figure it out of like that's what
Fix
I
their
think
contracts.
one of the things I love about Summer House, and I don't think you watch, but
Don't.
we genuinely really don't know what's going on. Like they barely even post at the parties and stuff when they're having it.
Okay.
Like, we just get surprised when we're watching. And that's one thing I think the LA people need to learn.
I've been interested in Summer House. I haven't dabbled, but Matt kind of selling me because I need, yeah. I think the reason why SLC worked out so well, the finale, was because we had no idea anything
No
was
clue.
coming.
They just
So that's what, and like before social media, that is how Bravo was. Like, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So like, I think, yeah, they need to adjust the contracts. Like, no more spilling it on the podcast. Like,
no
I don't know.
more, please. Okay, well, this is fun.
Oh my God. Thank you for having me. This was amazing.
Thank you so much for coming on. Feel free to come back ever you.
Oh my God. I would love to.
And yeah, it was so nice having you. And then thank you all for listening. I'll see you next week. As I said in the intro, I will be traveling next week and I'll be at a wedding. So the podcast is going to come like a little later than usual, but it will be on its way. So be patient with me. But yeah, thank you for listening to That's My Opinion. I'll see you next week. And I'll
All right.